Welcome back to another Tuesday Talks. We're taking some smaller Tuesday Talks here for the summertime. So I know a lot of you are busy, so thank you for taking a few moments to watch this week. And as always, I pray that you're challenged by something that is said. Have you ever eaten pistachios? It's actually one of my favorite nuts. It's kind of somewhat enjoyable to pop one open, to eat one, but the story of the pistachio in America is quite interesting. 2020 was a tough year for all of us. We probably want to erase it out of our minds. For most of us, we don't really look at it as anything to be excited about. But for pistachio growers in America, 2020 was the greatest year they've ever had. They had a record pistachio harvest crop here in America. But what's amazing about the pistachio in America, and I want to give a shout out to my mother-in-law for sharing this story with me. The story of the pistachio in America is quite interesting. In 1930, a botanist by the name of William Whitehouse traveled to Iran. At the time, Iran was the premier provider of pistachios to the world. America had a very small pistachio industry, and so in quest to find the best pistachio, it took him to Iran. He went to a particular pistachio orchard and he gathered up about 20 pounds of nuts that were drying, that had been harvested and were drying. He picked several different varieties and brought them back to California and placed them in the ground. The thing with a pistachio tree takes it about 10 years before it begins to produce a harvest. So this 10-year wait ended up only producing one tree that actually was fruitful and produced a quality pistachio. What's amazing is that when he selected the nuts off of the drying table to bring them back, this one particular pistachio that produced this one tree was selected out of a group of other drying nuts. In fact, he didn't even see the tree that produced this nut. This one single seed was brought back to America, and it survived the 10-year maturity process, and that one seed began to produce a harvest that now in 2020, 99% of the pistachios grown in America come from California, and of those come from California. It really started all the way back in 1930 with this one particular seed. It's quite a fascinating story, especially if you've ever eaten pistachios. You kind of get a better appreciation for sort of the journey of how we got the nut that we actually eat. But to me, there's a greater significance to this story. You see, there's two things that really stick out to me. Number one, that seed was just another seed in a collection of other nuts. There's nothing about it that maybe stood out. There wasn't one that said, this is going to be the one that's going to become the seed that's going to grow. And all of a sudden now, here we are 90 years later, and it's now producing record crops. At the time, it looked like every other one. You see, sometimes in God, the things that really become the major turning points of our life, or the things that really impact us, or the things that change us, don't always jump off the screen at us. They don't always go, hey, this is going to be a defining moment. And so if we're not careful, we're looking for the big things. We're looking for the neon lights, the flashing signs, but we may miss the power of that one seed in the collection of the other seeds. It may not stand out. In fact, we may not even know the origin. He never knew the origin. You couldn't trace it back to this particular tree. This one tree produced this one nut. It was just already harvested. It was laying on a table. He selected it. At the time, I'm sure it was just one of the ones he had thrown in his 20-pound sack. But that one tree, that one seed became the one tree. You see, you might be going through a series of life right now where it just looks like it's another seed and another event, another thing or another problem, another situation. But you never know when that one particular thing will be the seed that changes your life. Or that one particular moment may be the most defining thing that you participate in. I've often thought about what it must have been like to be a part of some of the most defining moments of Scripture. You know, I try to place myself in the upper room in Acts chapter 1. What would that have felt like? And we look back on it now as such a significant thing. We look back on it now as such a defining moment of not just a church history, but it really is a world global defining moment. But I don't know if the 120 that were in that room that day felt like it was going to be that moment. I wonder if they just in some ways thought, well, it's just another day. It's another time. I don't know if they felt the significance of it. You know, we're doing a Mark series on Sunday morning, and in the beginning of Mark, he describes the encounter that he had, Mark describes the encounter that Jesus has when he calls Andrew, and he calls Peter, and he calls James, and he calls John. And, he comes up to them, and they're out there with their nets, and James and John are on the boat with their father fishing. And he gives the command, follow me, or the plea, follow me, or the challenge, follow me. I don't know when Peter first heard those words if he understood the significance of what he was about to get involved in. And I don't know if Peter knew that one decision would not only change his life, but would change the lives of hundreds of millions. You see, you and I today who have received the Spirit of God in our life are a direct fruit from that one seed that took place that day when Jesus looked at Peter and said, follow me. You see, you are the direct fruit of a seed that when someone made the decision to follow Jesus Christ, and their journey then spilled into your journey and brought you into a relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't know if we ever recognize the significance of that moment. Historically, there have been moments that have defined the world. I don't know if, looking back on those moments, if the people who were living those moments understood the great significance of what they were doing. But when we look back, we see how massive they are. I don't know if William Whitehouse, when he selected that one particular seed off the table and put it in the sack, was expecting that seed to be the one that produced the one tree that lasted the 10-year maturity process that became 90 years later a world record crop for pistachios. He was simply just collecting seeds. There's so many things that if we're not careful, we're going to downplay them because they don't come to us with flashing lights. A lot of times the most significant things in our life don't announce themselves as significant. In fact, they look very insignificant. It didn't seem very significant that a carpenter asks you the question, follow me. But it becomes something that is revolutionary. Think about just in your own life, maybe some events that have taken place over the last 10, 30 years that have been defining moments. In the moment, did it feel like that? Did it announce itself like, hello, by the way, this is about to change your life? Yeah, maybe there's some things that have happened that way, sure. But not everything. And be careful that you dismiss that one seed. That you don't recognize the power of that one moment. Maybe it's a decision that you're making that you think is really insignificant. Maybe it's a choice that you're wrestling with that you think, well, it's just another choice. It's not a big deal. But to God, maybe it's becoming that defining moment that's going to change the trajectory of your entire life. That's going to shape and forge your spiritual destiny. It's just another thing to you. Maybe it's just another Monday. Maybe it's just another Tuesday talk. Maybe it's just another Wednesday prayer meeting where I get alone with God in my closet. But what if that is the day that God changes you forever? You see, it's really hard to have faith when you're waiting for life's moments to announce themselves. We walk by faith, not by sight. My sight tells me look for the big things, but my faith says look for God in everything. And if I live that way, then I don't overlook anything that God is doing in my life, no matter how big or small it might seem to me in this moment. Because I know there's a lot of small things in my life that mushroomed into major transformational things that you would have never been able to convince me in the beginning that this was going to be such a revolutionary thing. No way. So the story of the pistachio teaches us, number one, don't overlook the one seed. Don't overlook or think that there's nothing because you're looking at the 20 pounds and that you don't think there's significance in that one. What if that one seed would have spilled onto the ground and he'd say, you know what, don't worry about it. I've got 19.999 pounds of nuts left. I don't need that one. But that was the one that was going to be the tree that produced the 2020 record crop. You see, sometimes I think God puts things in our spirit and we don't recognize it. And so we dismiss it and we forget about it. It falls to the ground because we've got other things that we've got enough. We'll be okay. But what if that one thing that you let go of? What if that one thing God spoke to you? What's the last thing God spoke to you? Was it the big mystery of heaven being revealed, or maybe it was something small, but you just let it fall out of your bag because, well, I got other things I can latch onto. But what if that was the one seed that was going to produce the one tree that was going to end up becoming the thing that changed the world? That one seed and that one tree literally has changed the face of the world. American pistachios are now the most desired pistachio in the world. Buyers from all over want to get that particular pistachio. Pistachios are grown all over the world. In fact, if you go look, Genesis 43, I believe it is, mentions the pistachio. It's been around for thousands of years. But buyers come to America to get the California pistachios that came from the William Whitehouse one seed. But the second thing this story really illustrates to us is really the power of the one seed. Think about how many times Jesus used the analogy of the seed. You know, that we know the mustard seed faith, or except a grain of wheat falls on the ground and die, it abideth alone, but if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit. So many times Jesus used this metaphor of a seed to kind of illustrate a point, and I don't want to overuse this illustration, but when you look at the power of that one seed, it only takes one. He had a 20-pound bag of seeds, but only one of them produced a tree that survived. But it only needed one. You see, I don't need 50,000 things. I just need that one. I just need that one. I need that one. I don't have to earn God's love through 50,000 prayer meetings, but it could be that one prayer meeting. It could be that one encounter with God. Don't neglect the power of that one seed. So many times we look at our own inadequacies and we think, well, I don't have what others have. I don't have all the qualifications. I don't have all the talents that I have, but you've got one thing. All of us could think of one thing we have. If you can't think of one thing, maybe you need to go pray and ask God to heal you, because somehow your shame and your hurt and your past is not allowing you to see clearly. Yes, there are some people out there that are tremendously talented. There are people out there that have, you know, as they say, talents to give away. Maybe you look at them and you go, man, I'll never be like that. I'll never have those. Maybe they have a 20-pound bag full of nuts that looks like they're going to come home and produce hundreds of trees, and all you have is that one single nut, that one single seed. But that one single thing could be what revolutionizes the world. All that woman at the well had was a water pitcher and a broken heart. But that one thing turned the entire city around. The blind man had nothing but his cup and his handicap. But that one seed changed the perspective of all those around that day that saw Jesus heal him. Sometimes my seed may not even be something I consider positive. My seed may be something I consider to be a handicap or a drawback or something that actually I want to get rid of. But that one seed may be what God is looking for. You see, it's said 1,000 times, God is not looking for ability, he's looking for availability. God doesn't need your ability, he needs your availability. Sometimes I look at God and say, God, all I have to give to you today is some ashes. And he goes, I'll take it, because from your ashes I'll make beauty. God, all I have today is give you these broken pieces. And God says, all I need is those broken pieces, because when I can put them together, I'll show you wholeness. There are days I feel like I'm giving God 5 stale pieces of bread and 2 smelly, rotting fish. And God says, watch what I can do. I can create a feast from what you give me. Just give me something. Just give me something. I don't need everything. I don't need all of this. I don't need all your gifts and talents. In fact, it's amazing. God usually takes time getting us not to use our gifts and talents, because ultimately he wants to be the one to get the glory. So he takes time to kind of weed those things out of our life so that we can understand all we need to do is make ourselves available. Whether he uses our talents and gifts, that's up to him. But here I am. Just give him the one seed. So today, if you're looking at situations in your life and you don't see any significance of anything going on, remember William Whitehouse, 20 pounds. He didn't see the significance of the one seed that created the ultimate, most fruitful pistachio crop in the world. But maybe today all you feel like you have is just that one seed. You don't even have a 20-pound bag. You don't have even 20 seeds. You just got one. But maybe that one is all you need. Because if you would give that one into the hands of the master, the author, and the finisher, he can take that one and make it into an abundance. So just a little thought today, Tuesday Talks. So next time you're in the grocery aisle, you see a pistachio, let it be a remembrance to grab a hold of some faith, to latch a hold of some promises God's placed in you. If you pop open a pistachio, when you pop open that pistachio, remember the power of the seed and let your faith connect with the power of Jesus Christ. And I'm telling you, there's no telling what God will do in your life. As always, thank you for watching. God bless you. And I'll see you again next time here on Tuesday Talks.